Redemption in any field can be difficult, but perhaps none more so than for a disgraced news person. Most of them just fade away. But former CBS anchorman Dan Rather is the exception. His long-form online essays have catapulted his flagging career back into the limelight.
It was 10 years ago that Dan Rather left the anchor desk at CBS News.
And to each of you, courage.
Rather was forced out after his flawed report on then-President George W. Bush's military record, where Rather and producers might have been duped by fake documents.
We can no longer vouch for their authenticity.
That same year, Rather signed on to a dubious project financed by Mark Cuban, the wealthy owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Dan Rather reports promised high-profile interviews.
David Hasselhoff, up next on The Big Interview.
Well, maybe not that big. But it's Rather's own company, News and Guts, that has really caught on. As of October, he had 400,000 likes on Facebook, with his written essays and conversations in science taking off.
When did you say to yourself, I'm dream of being a world-class research biologist?
In an era when 10-second GIFs, memes, and vines are all the rage, Rather's resurrection is all the more surprising. What's not surprising is that, like many in the new age genre of journalism, he's allowing his point of view to show. And in case you were wondering what that frequency is, Kenneth, it's liberal.
A lot of people didn't get that joke, but I think most of our viewers will. I am really actually heartened to see this, and I'm not forgiving him or CBS for the mistakes of the past, but I think a lot of young people have caught on to this. My daughter called me last week and said, hey, have you seen this long-form essays? And we got a message from one of our reporters out on the Cape who was asking how to get in touch with him because of the thoughtful stuff he'd been doing. She's our science editor, wanted to know how to reach out to him because of all the thoughtful work he's done on science as part of this Guts and News website. So, I mean, I'm glad to see it. And he's not taking himself overly seriously, but he's really working it hard. He's been doing documentaries. He still works for the Mark Cuban AXS, I think it is, cable outfit in New York, and he does this. He's hard to get in touch with too because we were trying to contact him. So
I think
he's
one
busy.
of the reasons that it's become popular is because people are more welcoming of it when he's Dan Rather being Dan Rather, and he's allowed to be Dan Rather. And he's not pretending to be a neutral arbiter of the news. Everybody knows he has an opinion, and they're interested in what it is. Whereas when he was at CBS News, you know, I actually interned there as a college student.
Really?
Had the pleasure of delivering a package to your father once. But, you know, the Republicans in the newsroom behind his back called him Dan Rather biased.
Yeah, right.
I mean, everybody knew that, you know, he was essentially operating as the communications arm of the Democratic Party, which is fine if you're a commentator.
Right.
Absolutely fine.
Well, I just, you know, it's good to see that. I'm a big believer in in-depth, you know, coverage of a particular, you know, whether it's science or something else, in an era where shorter is always better. So I like to see that. And I like to, you know, I've never been a big fan of Dan Rather, but I remember seeing him in New Hampshire when he was, you know, at his peak, and he was surrounded by this army of people everywhere he went. You know, there was, and then I ran into him in the airport, and he was carrying his own suitcase, and it was sad to kind of see how far he had fallen. And I thought, why don't you just retire and go away peacefully? And so, you know, I think that it's good to see him finding his way in something that's
meaningful.
You know, meaningful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't think he'd ever recover from the lawsuit he filed after he lost his job. I thought that was a humiliating moment for him, even more than the circumstances that led to him losing his job. But, you know, he's got his health. He's still got the fire in the belly. Good for him. Like Dan, I have never been a fan.
Let me say that he has not been off my radar for some years because on two of the judging contests, the journalism judging contests I am a part of, he and his documentaries have always excelled. Very, very hard-hitting, great stuff across the board. A lot of scientific stuff. You know, some of the kind of investigative reporting that he was known for before. I mean, really fine material, both for DuPont's and another contest that I can't say enough about it. So he's been doing that for some time. What's new, as you say, is he's stepping forward behind from that sort of investigative
Yeah.
reputation and really speaking out.
I think he was
you know.
incredulous too, because he addressed his Facebook followers, and he was stunned, and then the number of shares, even as he's on science issues, 80,000 shares on,
Yeah, well, he's been doing good work. So, and I'm glad to say that Mark Cuban is still funding him. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.